What's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. Patch 11.1 is live, and just like patch 11.1, a handful of Warlock Sims are also now live and or coming out for 11.1 with tier sets and things being implemented, and I want to talk to you all about that today. Single target for Destro, Demo, and Affliction tier set gains, and all of that. Now, sorry for the flashbang here. This is not my chart. This is a chart I'll link below. It has, I believe, up-to-date Sims for every spec in the game for the most part. I don't know who maintains all these individually for each class. Unsurprisingly, Warlock is lower than basically all of them, except for Demonology, like we talked about for last couple months. But hey, you know, it is what it is. But I'll link it down below if you want to look at it. It shows like power infusion gains on your CDs, on every 2 minutes, overall gains. We'll look at that a bit more towards the end of the video here. I do want to jump right into Destruction Sims here off the bat, though, and talk about where they are sitting. Now, the current highest single target sim for Destruction is Diabolus still. As you can see here, there are some tier set sims here. Basically, these profiles are the same, Destro, Diabolus. And to show the actual talents for these, we will hop to here. I'll grab these, pull it up for you. Spoilers ahead, it is indeed playing Channel Demon Fire. It is not playing Shadowburn. However, there are some mentions of Destro's tier possibly being a little buggy depending on implementation in SimC from what I've seen. And Raging Demon Fire is indeed working with your tier set, giving bonus bolts and damage. I think from what I understand, I'm not totally sure. I don't know if anybody knows, but point being, it is simming best overall. Now, when it comes to your tier set, it looks to be gaining about 10%, 10 to 11% overall from your 0 set, 2 pieces 8. The 4 piece from 2 to 4 is looking at about, let me see, about a 3% gain, give or take, you know, overall. So not incredibly flashy, but not one of the lesser tier sets like Affliction has, for example, coming up in a minute here. I did want to compare Destro, Diabolus, and Single Target to Hellcaller, which is very strong in the raid when you are in more of a spread cleave based setting where you can get Wither value and Havoc value and things like that. So I ended up running some Sims here, playing the same overall gearing and things from the Sim here, with Destro Hellcaller CDF, basically the exact same build you see here, just playing Hellcaller instead of Diabolus, and also Destro Diabolus Shadowburn and Destro Hellcaller Shadowburn, looking to see where Shadowburn's at comparatively to CDF, because Shadowburn provides a lot more mobility when it comes to being able to cast it on the move. There's obviously Havoc spread cleave value with Shadowburn compared to CDF being stacked. CDF's a stationary ability at the channel, and you also get more Shadowburn value with Fiendish Cruelty, and if you can snipe ads, which there's a lot of this tier. Looking at the highest Hellcaller build here is CDF. It's ahead of the Shadowburn build by about 40k, give or take, and it's 2.307, which is just about 100k lower than Diabolus and Single Target. When it comes to Shadowburn, Diabolus, Destro, you're looking at about 2.306 again, which is also about 100k overall lower than the CDF build, which is right here, of Diabolus looking the best in Single Target. Now, it's very important to hit on, once again, this is Single Target. The raid is exceptionally, there's Single Target emphasis, obviously, on bosses, but there's a lot of spread cleave in the raid. Havoc cleave, Wither cleave, which definitely adds a lot more value to a Hellcaller-based profile. If you can get, you know, Mayhem cleave, Havoc cleave, with Shadowburn being a thing, it is exceptionally strong. So while overall, Diabolus is simming the highest when it comes to Single Target at 2.4 million roughly, with CDF being a thing, on spread cleave fights like Styx, like One Arm Bandit, like Cauldron Carnage, even Vexy. You know, most of the fights is raid tier, barring Sprocketmonger. I would expect to see Hellcaller Destro, if you're playing Destro on those fights, being played over Diabolus, maybe, except for Sprocketmonger or Lock and Stock. But tier set wise, looks to be about 12% gain from basically no tier set, and Shadowburn does once again appear to be about 100k lower universally for both builds here, but it has a lot more relevancy when it comes to like movement and ads and things. So Sims are a great tool when it comes to looking at values and things, but there's Sims, there's actuality, and they don't totally match up when it comes to every encounter all the time. Let's look briefly at Affliction. Now, shifting gears here and looking at Affliction, in 11.0 and things, basically over the course of Warcraft so far, you've seen Soul Harvester being the better Affliction hero talent in Single Target. That is shifting in patch 11.1. Now, it's partially due to some weird interaction. It's Drain Soul, not proccing our tier set. Drain Soul is the better spell when it comes to Affliction as your, or Soul Harvester as your filler. Shadowbolt is better for Hellcaller. It's always been that way. Shadowbolt better in Single Target for Hellcaller. Drain Soul better in Single Target for Soul Harvester. Unfortunately, our tier set is not proccing off of Drain Soul, but it is proccing off of Shadowbolt. So that is how you have a decent bit of the reason as to why Hellcaller is pulled ahead a bit here. If you look at the actual like Sims here playing Shadowbolt versus Hellcaller, the tier set procs basically twice as much playing Shadowbolt. Might be able to get fixed. Who knows? But our tier set overall looks to be about a 4.5% DPS gain, going from 0-piece to 2-piece, and a whopping 2.5 from 2-piece to 4-piece. We mentioned over the course of PTR that it's pretty undertuned overall. Nothing really happened to it, just sort of ended up staying that way. So we'll probably get our aura buff in week 2 like we always do, and there you go from there. Hellcaller does indeed, it is currently the better simming hero talent in single target though, and honestly that's not bad, because you're playing probably the majority of its raid as Affliction as Hellcaller Affliction. Now, this number is pretty low. Looking at the sheet here, 2.379 is actually the lowest simming of any single spec in the game, which we mentioned as well over the course of PTR a bunch. We got I think 16% aura buff before the PTR ended, which was, we were about 2.1 million DPS, which is basically a whole patch behind. Now, the good thing about this is that Affliction this tier has a lot of funnel cleave, because it's a lot of adds that spawn. Most fights are spread cleave or stacked-ish cleave, like One Arm Bandit, like Rick Reverb at times. You can get a lot of stacked cleave in these fights and then funnel into your Haunt, Shadow's Embrace, UA, Singularity main target with all that Dark Harvest cleave, so on and so forth, and just blast. Now, is that going to put you ahead of like an Arms Warrior? Probably not, but at the same time, you also do bring bit of spray cleave on ads and things, and I think we're gonna be surprised at how strong Warlock looks in the raid comparatively to what you see in this chart here with the temporary sims and all that. But at the same time, like, well, we can only do so much. But yeah, so the build we're playing here for Affliction Hellcaller in single target is also on the website and things, which I encourage you to check. If things do change, that site will also change. Looks basically like this. You're playing Siphon Life over Absolute Corruption, playing a point in Xavius' Gambit over Dark Harvest. Used to be Dark Harvest, but Xavius is better now, all the UA buffs, Singularity and stuff, Sacrolash, Cutting Cruelty, Malevolent Visionary. Things may change a bit in a more cleave funnel-based scenario, but get to that at some point and go from there. But this looks to be the actual gist of it. So Affliction is the lowest simming spec currently in single target of any class in the game by realistically a decent bit. The only class that has a 3 next to its 2 million here. But, there's that. Moving on from Affliction, though, we have Demonology. Now, Demonology has sort of come out of nowhere and been the surprise over the past few days, I guess week, give or take, at 2.643 million. Now, in the testing that I did on PTR, it was not this strong. Testing I did recently, even without like Drain Soul, cheesing, and things on dummies when AF got buffed, AF was better than Demo. I still think AF is better. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. It has not felt like it's 250k ahead of Affliction. AF has felt like our single target our best single target option for a while on PTR, and many locks I've talked to recently have also felt that way. I can't find anything wrong with the Demo Sims. People that are smarter than me working them and say nothing is wrong. So hey, we're gonna roll with it. Now, unlike Affliction and Destruction this tier, though, Demonology doesn't have that good spray cleave profile. It doesn't have Hellcaller. It's has Diabolus or Soul Harvester, and is lacking that spread cleave profile that you can get with Destruction and Affliction. No Wither, no Malevolence, which actually, even though it is the highest simming spec for Warlock at 2.63 here, puts it in an awkward spot. Now, the tier set gain, the 2-piece, is looking to be about 6.6k, about 143k DPS gain. The 2 to 4-piece is a 15% gain, a whopping 320k DPS. Demo's tier is very, very strong. A 22% gain is actually the strongest tier set, I believe, of any class in the game now, barring BM Hunter. But once again, this raid tier is very interesting because there's not a lot of stat cleave. You might be able to get some on a fight like Styx Bunk Junker. If you play locks on Sprocketmonger, the only patchwork fight of the tier, maybe you'll play a Demonology lock or two if you need gateways on both sides. But for the most part, Demonology is our highest simming spec by 250k, something like that, but it likely will see the least amount of playing in the raid, unless you can, world first cheese some bosses and just get a meat grinder cleave element to them, right? The build looks like this. You're not playing points in Umbral Blaze and packing it more anymore. You're still playing Doomguard pumps here with Doom, and you're playing Flame Touch due to your tier bonus being affected by this now and everything else, and all of that. Also no point over here in Tauren. You're playing 4, 7, 10 total points to your capstone row here, so that's cool. How it should be. All 10 points are spent down here. And that's basically the gist of it. Nothing's really changing with Demonology fundamentally. Rotationally, the extra dogs and things don't change your hand of Ghoulland cycling from what we've heard, but, if that changes, well, we will also go from there. Soul Harvester, I didn't sim it here. It's close-ish. I think it's behind like 100k. I simmed it a week ago. I mean, just, it's not as good. But either way, even if it was better than Diabolish, you still probably wouldn't play it a whole lot in the raid because of the damage profiles. Now, we'll have a video coming out later on this week, Sunday or Monday, looking at Warlock in the raid, like a raid review. But honestly, even though Affliction is theoretically like our lowest simming spec at 2.38, comparatively to Destro at 2.4 and Demo at 2.65, whatever it is, I think you're playing majority Affliction this raid. You could see a mix of Destro and Affliction, but you're probably playing majority Aff. This raid tier. Hellcaller is strong, the funnel that it can bring is very strong, and honestly, yeah. Now, getting back to the actual temporary sim sheet here, Flashbang Inc. Like we talked about, Warlock is the lowest simming class and spec in single target by a good bit. You've got Affliction sitting here at 2.379. The next closest spec to that is actually Destruction at 2.03. The only other spec that's not even 2.5 or higher is Arcane Mage, but thankfully they have Fire and Frost, which, you know, you're a mage, you get everything. And there's that. A Warlock is going to get an aura buff at some point. We've said it for all of beta. People think I'm crazy every time, but in the end, I always tell the truth. And Warlock is behind substantially when it comes to single target. That's also an issue when it comes to M+. You can bring a really strong profile in Destro, Mass AoE. They get to a boss, and you do like just subpar single target. Same with Affliction. Very, very strong burst and plus. Not consistent burst, but then you get to a boss, and you just flounder around and do nothing, right? So that is something in itself. Also, they have Sims here, I guess. I didn't even see this. For Destro with Hellcaller, looks to be what we saw here. And Aff with Soul Harvester, yeah, about what we saw actually. So pretty close, a little bit off, give or take. It's actually even closer than I thought. It's behind by 3K, but either way, not as impressive. However, what is more impressive is the power infusion targets. Now what we have here, I'm trying to zoom out a little bit. If it's too small to read, guys, I'm sorry, I can't do much here about it. I'll try and zoom a bit, but so we have a 5-minute fight here, basically like baseline Sims tier, and then you have PI on your CD. So whenever you CD, you're going to get PI in this sim, for example, over a 5-minute sim. I got to zoom out a bit, guys. I'm sorry. I can't make it any smaller or larger without scuffing the actual image overall here. But if you're looking at this, Affliction receives a 5.3% gain. Demonology is 5.18, and Destro is 3.83. Now, Destro, sort of but if you want to amplify that profile more, you could PI a Destro lock during Big Cleave, which obviously is more relevant there. But looking at 5.3 and 5.2, there's not many other classes that are ahead of us. Enhanced is ahead of us. Obviously, that's good. Enhanced is strong. Besides that, it's basically just Survival Hunter. You're not playing a Survival Servants raid. It's basically 2 lock specs and enhancement looking very strong here. Now moving over a bit more here too, to getting PI every 2 minutes, more or less like a Shadow Priest PI. They're going to PI you when they're CDing, give or take, versus like a healer PI, you can call for it, right? Shadow Priest, 4.64. 4.75, because it lines up pretty well with your Aff and Demo CDs, both being a little delayed in your opener when you're ramping Dots or ramping Tyrant. Look at Enhance here. You're looking at, actually I mixed that up, it's okay, 4.64, 4.79. I mixed it up, it's hard to see, point being either way. Affliction, still looking strong at 4.79, higher than Enhanced Shaman. There's no other class better for PI than Afflock. Demo looking a little funky here because like Demo's timings are a little weird with like Shadow Priest PI and all that, depending what you're doing. I guess technically you're looking at Survival Hunter again, but like you're not playing a Survival Hunter in this raid. You're playing a BM, maybe even a Mark. Survival, I don't think he's played his raid tier. And if you head over here, Power Infusion in your 40-second opener. Let me just put a marker here so I know which one's which. We have Affliction right here, basically. This is the top Warlock spec being Affliction. Yep, cool, there we go. Affliction's gaining 9.4. Enhance is gaining, just to clarify one more time here, just a triple check. Enhance, this is the Enhance row, correct? Yes, Enhance is gaining a whopping 4.17. Demonology is gaining 12.12%. Being PI'd in your opener with Tyrant, with Grimoire Felgar, with your tier set proc, like guaranteed proc, right? That's even way ahead of other classes here. You're looking at, what class is this? You're looking at, I wish I could make this a little easier on me, but hey, you know. You're looking at, I think this is Survival still, isn't it? This is a Survival Hunter? Yeah, it's Survival. There's Survival and there's, I believe, Unholy. Yeah, it's Unholy. And like you're ahead by 2% here. Now the question is, are you playing a lot of Demo locks this tier? Probably not on a whole lot of fights, but even if Destro's 8.26, Emo's 12.1, Aff is basically 10%. Now, will Shaman steal PI? Maybe, possibly, you know. Another class here being pretty close is Windwalker Monk, but they're over simming as well. They mentioned that already. So honestly, like for a power infusion target, block isn't looking that bad. If you factor in PIing on Afflock or Destro Lock, like during ad spawning on One Arm Bandit or fights where you want that good spread cleave the Hellcaller brings, you might be a big PI target this tier. So worth looking at. This is going to be tier set gains here. You have 0 piece to 2 piece. You can see the percent here, 2 piece to 4 piece and 0 to 4 piece. 0 to 2, easier to see here. Please go away, tooltip, thank you. You have Affliction 4.46, 6.59, 7.93. Not bad when it comes to like a 0 to 2 piece gain. Average, maybe even a little higher. Not BM Hunter level of OP, but hey, you know, there's that, not bad. 2 piece to 4 piece, Demonology very high at 14. Affliction horrendous at 2.5%. Now, to be fair, so is Havoc, so is whatever, something else here, Elemental, give or take. Then you get to the end, 0 piece to 4 piece here, and you got Affliction at a whopping 7.16. You have, I believe this is, Feral at 7.7, Unholy and Havoc at 4 and 5. You have BM at 23, you have Demo at 21. There's a large disparity in tier sets here. Lock's best tier set, Demonology. Probably the least played spec for Warlock, assuming things go according to plan this raid. Destro at 12 is like solid upper middle of the pack, give or take. Not 17, not 18 or 14 or whatever, but not horrendous. But AF's 2 piece to 4 piece is just terrible. It is so bad. Like, I mean, dude, we're worse than a Demon Hunter. It's still our class, right? We're not as bad as Fury, but I mean, like, is Fury actually 3%? That's horrendous. That can't be right. Either way, this is more of a Warlock thing, but point being, we're not like Omega high priority for AF tier. Destro tier is solid, but honestly, like with the damage profile that AF and Destro bring this tier, with Hellcaller being a thing, I wouldn't be surprised for a handful of fights to see 2 locks in the raid this tier. One Arm Bandit, some other good cleave fights if you can get to that cleave. And funnel cleave, maybe on Gallywix, depending on how the fight looks. You could see 2 Warlocks, but in general, that Hellcaller profile is going to be strong. So like always, thanks for watching, guys. Wraps it up, and hopefully it helped clarify on Warlock Sims, where we're standing currently in the raid, heading into 11.1 and Liberation of Undermine. Like I said, I'll have a video coming out as long as I can get it out this weekend before I fly out to California for the Race the World First. I am casting that again for Liquid on a Warlock raid review, looking at specs and things for each fight and breaking that down a bit more. But if you're playing Lock this tier, Hellcaller looks good. If you haven't played Hellcaller as Affliction or Destro, I'd encourage you to look at it. I don't believe there's any more tuning coming before the actual raid hits, so lock in. But yeah, that's that. So if you guys have any weak auras or add-ons or profiles, the Central Weak Aura and Plater profile were updated for 11.1. There's links all down below as well as the website up here. If you guys would like to just keep an eye on talent builds that may change over the next week or two, the website, like I said, has all of that. At the same time, like always, a massive thank you to my patrons for all support on Patreon. Thank you all just a million times. Like always, I greatly appreciate it. It allows me to keep doing what I'm doing and making videos for y'all, and like, you know, just thank you for all the support. The bottom of my Lord and man heart. Yeah. So like I said, I'm flying out to the Race the World First Sunday into Monday. We should have videos coming out every single day until then. The Demonology guide will be out tomorrow, and then raid review video, probably one final like tier list raid comp video. And yeah, this patch has flown by, but I mean, I'm already in it. But the race is coming, and it finally feels like, all right, time to go. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you all are excited as well. And I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.